Want to hear about the time I almost died? Now that I have your attention, picture it. Ada, Michigan, January 19th, 2016. I was on my way to work in a snowstorm, and the roads were terrible, and I was being careful, but somehow I still managed to roll my Jeep down an embankment. It stopped on the roof, and I was hanging upside down. And so was my youngest daughter, because on my way to work, I was dropping her off at her university. I also worked at a university at the time, just a different one. And while my physical injuries were fairly minor, bump on the head, strain on my shoulder, the mental injuries turned out to be far worse. Only I didn't realize that there was a problem right away. I had a bump on my head, it hurt. But other than that, I just thought I was rattled from the accident. I had a bag in the back seat that had some like microwavable soups and stuff in it, kind of emergency lunch stuff that I would keep in my desk drawer for days when I didn't have time to get away to get lunch or didn't pack a good lunch. And that was about the only loose thing rolling around in the car. So I have a feeling that one of those soups hit me in the side of the head, and that's what caused my injury. So I joke that I got souped, but it didn't give me superpowers. Life doesn't work like comic books and Marvel movies, apparently. So after the accident, the police came, did a report, didn't call an ambulance. I really think they should have, because I had to crawl out of a Jeep that had flipped upside down. Obviously, it was an exciting adventure down the hill. Anyway, police report's done. He's gone. Tow truck gives us a ride to the gas station on the way to the shop that he's towing the truck to. And my husband picked us up, brought us home. I was tired, had a headache, just thought it was just from all the excitement of the morning. So I took the day off, rested, relaxed. Got up the next day, still didn't feel great, but thought, you were in a car accident yesterday. Drove to work, got to work, got my computer up and running, sat down, realized something was terribly wrong. I was nauseous and dizzy and just did not feel good. And while it probably wasn't the smartest thing, remember, I hit my head, I drove myself home and went to the doctor. That's when I realized I'd suffered a traumatic brain injury. This all happened during a very pivotal time in my life. I had just become a grandma the month before. Both of my daughters were planning to get married. I had just started a new job the previous summer, the job I thought was going to be the one I retired from. I had a good career trajectory. I could do free education. I had health insurance, retirement investments, all of that stuff. It was going to be the last hurrah until I retired. And all that changed in an instant. What followed was months of medication and confusion. So many pills. I was on medication for nausea, insomnia, anxiety, pain. You name it, I probably had it. And it was a lot. I still have all of those medications in the drawer of my vanity. Not because I need them anymore, but because they're a reminder of how far I've come. The worst part was probably the mental fog and confusion that came along with the traumatic brain injury. That and the fear that I might never be myself again. And in a lot of ways, I'm not the person that rolled the Jeep. Everything changed in that moment. Probably one of the lowest moments that I can remember with sharp clarity. I was nauseous a lot, and I didn't really have an appetite, but I knew I needed to eat something. So I decided I was going to make some mashed potatoes, instant mashed potatoes. So I went into the kitchen, I got the box out of the cupboard, walked over to the kitchen counter next to the stove, and started reading the box. And then realized I didn't know what to do. I could not comprehend the instructions for making instant mashed potatoes. And I started to cry. Now, my oldest daughter and her family were living with us at the time. And she came in the kitchen and found me crying. And she did something I both appreciated and hated. I looked at her and said, "I don't know how to make instant mashed potatoes." And she said, "That's okay, Mom. I'll make them for you," and sent me to the living room. That was probably the lowest moment of my life, because I thought, what if I'm always this way? What if this is just who I am from now on? I was on a waiting list to get into a concussion clinic, and when I finally got into that, things got better. The doctor there took me off all of the medication, and we started physical, occupational, and regular old psychological therapies. And I don't know, maybe the problems were from the brain injury, maybe they were from the medication. Either way, that was the turning point. I forgot to mention, and I didn't know until I got to the concussion clinic, my eyes weren't tracking together. And so I couldn't even read or watch TV or, color it, write anything. Like all of those things made me extremely nauseous, gave me a severe headache. So I was literally just existing, sitting around, wandering around the house, like doing nothing. And that's a terrible feeling. So, anyway, after several months of all of that and some intensive therapy in the outpatient clinic, I started to get better. I returned to work only to realize I couldn't do that work anymore. Part of it was the anxiety of doing that commute and knowing that winter was coming up again, because this consumed most of 2016. So I resigned from that job. I found a job here in town with a comparable salary, not comparable benefits, but what are you going to do? And I did that job for a year. And then I realized I couldn't keep doing it. The stress and the anxiety that it caused me was just too much. My brain was just different. Fortunately, I have a husband who said, if you can't do it, don't. And so I resigned. But then I felt really lost. I didn't know what my purpose was. I focused on being a mom and a grandma and hobbies and writing, but none of it filled that purpose. And then during COVID, I discovered social media, TikTok to be exact. And that's where everything started to turn around. I connected with people. I was being creative. I could express my personality. It felt like there was a reason to do stuff. As silly as that sounds, that social media gave me a reason. But it did. It was a door to opportunity. And it's taken me to a lot of really cool places, and I'm very grateful for it. If you're still here, I'm finally getting to the point of my story. Sometimes you're forced to reimagine what your life's going to look like, and it ends up looking better than you ever thought it could. I'm not going to say I'm thankful that I had a traumatic brain injury. I am thankful of the path it took me down. I'm much happier now than I was working that job that I thought was the job. It wasn't fulfilling. It was work that paid the bills. But that's what we're supposed to do, right? Get up, go to work, do our job, earn our money, pay our bills, and die. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what most of us end up doing. And I'm so thankful that I was forced not to do that anymore, because I don't know if I would have gone out and done a different path on my own had I not been forced to. So don't be silly like me. Don't wait. If there's something you want to do, do it. Don't wait to be forced to do it, because that kind of sucks. I've been feeling really challenged again lately in the last couple of years, because I've been experiencing menopause, and it has hit me like a can of soup to the head. It has been very hard. It has taken all that I have in me not to succumb and give up and just hibernate and hide until it's over. But I don't want to be that person. I was forced to be that person 10 years ago, and I'm not going to be her again. So I've decided This is the 10th anniversary of my accident, and this is the year I'm going to thrive. And I find it very interesting. I have a little analogy. I have a Christmas cactus, and about 10 years ago, it almost died. I had set it outside thinking it would like the sunshine, and it didn't. But I managed to keep it alive, and it has grown since then, but it has never bloomed. And right now, it has one little bud that's getting ready to open. And I'm just going to take that as a sign that this is my year to bloom. Later, dudes.